Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our Women Agri Money webinar. My name is Ntutugo Shezi. For those of you that don't know me, I'm the cow executive officer here at Livestock Wealth. But I always joke that since we now have tunnels, trees, and macadamia trees and all the other things, I need to find a new name. So I think we need to launch a competition where what my new title is going to be. But anyway, enough about me for today. Today it's guys, it's Women's Month, and we have an exciting 45 minutes planned with you guys with two of the most wonderful women in farming that I've met, and in terms of African ladies who are doing proper farming, like really successful. In South Africa, these two ladies here really take the cake in terms of how they've progressed, their journey, their story. You're gonna be hearing it for yourself. It's been marvelous to see them grow, to see them really blossom. Really, it's been a marvelous journey walking some of the journeys with them in farming, and so. A special welcome, guys, and welcome, a big welcome to Welile and Mbali. Welile and Mbali, welcome. Welile, whom you guys can see there now, is a multi-million, runs Azowel project, which is a multi-million rand business where she does mixed farming. She employs over 20 people, largely around KZN, that's where she's based. She's won many awards. I'm not going to name all of them, but most importantly, just as early as last week, she won, was awarded 500,000 rand from the MTN Foundation and the Social Development, Department of Social Development, and the ADA. So it's one of those successes that you guys, I don't want to steal her story. And she's been a partner with Livestock Wealth since 2021. So welcome, Welile, welcome.
Hi, Shezi, and to the participants. Thank you so much for having me today. It's an honor. It's Women's Month, and it's definitely an honor to take you through my journey, and the investors and all the participants and aspiring farmers as well, to tell them of how I got to partner with Livestock Wealth, and I've been successfully farming since our partnership.
Great stuff. Now, the next lady, guys, needs no introduction. Really needs none whatsoever. I'm just saying her name. Is Mbali. You guys all know her. I think she's everywhere. I think she's a podcaster. She's a multi-award winning journalist. She writes for Farmers Weekly. She hosts. She hosts the private property podcast, the Mbali Nwoko podcast. She's the CEO of a farming foundation. There's nothing she doesn't do in farming. There's absolutely nothing. Mbali, welcome. Good to have you around.
Thank you so much, Shezi. Happy to reconnect once again. Thank you for having me on this webinar. Super excited on what's going to unfold, and you as well, Welile. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the webinar. Excellent.
Now, it's Women's Month, so my job here is to just keep quiet, and I'll do most of the keeping quiet. You guys are the ones doing the talking. So I want to hear about your journeys. Really, how did you get into farming? Maybe like 3 minutes each. Starting with you, Welile. There, how did you get into farming? And how did you get here? Please, fill us in.
Thank you for giving me the platform, Shezi. I'll take you back to a year in 2017, a year of great discomfort for me. I wasn't finding work. I was very uncomfortable in life. But that year was also when I started my farming, and it was also a year of growth. I secured land from the Kwabe Nkanini communal property, 9.5 hectare farm with 10 dilapidated hydroponic tunnels. And the aim for me was to revive and then be able to generate an income. I didn't know that I was actually solving other people's problems. I was just solving my own problem through farming that I had entirely learned on YouTube and through research. But what helped me start the farming was that there were people that used to work at the farm that had lost their jobs. And so I was able to then convince them with my unpolished negotiating business skills, I would call it. I managed to give them the vision to say, if we can if we can rehabilitate this farm, then we'll be able to start generating an income, and then our lives would be better. And indeed, that happened. I then started entering entrepreneurship competitions because I needed to raise funds. And when Livestock Wealth came on board, or when we joined forces, it was a point in time where Azowel Projects was actually almost ready for expansion. It's just that it was a 5-year goal that was covered in 3 years of starting our business. And I think I'll just leave it at that. And then, let me hand over to Mbali.
There will be opportunity to ask questions. In fact, there is opportunity to ask questions. Just type your question on the comments there for Mbali, for Welile. Just type your questions there, and our team will select the questions, and I'll read those out. But over to you, Mbali. How did you get here? What made you get going?
Yeah, so I started farming in 2016. I met somebody. I had a business before that, before I went into the agri industry. So I met somebody who just was an engineer, and he was just starting out farming, right? He was farming cabbages on a farm that was built for piggery production, and he was farming cabbages. And I just we met at an entrepreneur event. And, just entrepreneurs, business people, you find out what is it that you're doing, just understanding each other and your businesses. And he told me he was farming, and I thought, I've never come across a farm, and I never thought a farm could become a viable business. And I think at that time it was just God sent, because I was quite frustrated as well in my current business that I'd been that I co-founded for the 3 years as well. So long story short, after speaking to this gentleman, he's also a farmer, Eric Mawane, I went to go look for land. I fortunately found land that was available for rent or up for lease. I signed, I think it was a 5-year lease agreement. I started on 2 hectares, but in about 3 months, I grew to about 8 hectares. I had to de-bush 5 hectares, et cetera, et cetera. So my journey has been pretty much learn, implement, go, fail, fix, try again, and so forth. I started with 50,000 Rand. So when I found the farm and the landlord told me how much it will cost to rent, and I just did my planning, right? And I thought, okay, let me farm the most easiest thing, which is spinach. And I knew that, okay, how much money could I save up? I had 50,000 Rand. So I started Green Terrace with 50,000 Rand with 2 employees and on 2 hectares with a 5-year lease agreement. We started planting spinach, and I calculated to say it's going to take me X months of X time or weeks to, fully harvest that. I should be able to sell and get my money back. So that's the type of planning I did. And that's how I started farming. I had to learn from the people that I employed because they were already, doing just basic practices in Agri. Again, I think similar to Welile's story, I read a lot of Farmers Weekly magazines, just any agricultural information that I could get my hands on, learning from farmer stories that were being profiled. In terms of how to scale, etc., and then just researching things on Google, on YouTube, Swiss Chard, that sort of thing. So I just started equipping myself with information and how I could just make my production successful, and that was my journey in the beginning.
Wow, that's wonderful, wonderful, ladies. But hearing you guys both speak, I don't hear you guys saying, my father was a farmer, and then I went to agricultural college for 3 years. What did you guys do before you get into farming? And just fill us in for the purpose of people who don't have the agricultural experience as well. We're saying, I want to do this. Can a person without the degree succeed? Where do you think the degree and experience in a farm would have given you an edge? Anyone, if you can take that, please.
So let me take that. I in 2015, I had qualified as a chemical engineer, and then I couldn't find in-service training. I'm born of a teacher and a stay-at-home dad. And I did not, after college, I did not plan on becoming a business person. I had planned on going and working as a chemical engineer because there was no inspiration or anyone that in the family that would advise me to become a business person. But circumstances needed me to come up with a solution for myself and for my daughter, for us to be able to sustain ourselves. So there definitely was no father who encouraged me to go to a college of agriculture and learn agriculture so that we can expand a family business of some sort. Second of all, with what I've noticed with education, the purpose of getting educated is actually to unlock your mind. And that is what education has done for me. I've been able, I've found people that have had no education but had experience in farming, but they were not doing anything with that experience. And because I was educated, I was able to then use that education as a tool for me to start a business.
Oh. And for you, Mbali, any similarities there? Differences?
Yeah. So Shezi, I'm a first-generation farmer. Nobody in my family had been farming. And like I said in my intro, Uguti, for me, my farming journey has really been trial and error, right? Learning from my employees, learning from research, learning from agri newspapers, publications. Also, what I did, I think, which I didn't mention in the beginning, I invested a lot of my time back in 2016 and 17, attending a lot of agri conferences. So whether it was 500 Rand, 5,000 Rand, 1,000 Rand a ticket, I bought it because I knew that I had to get to a certain level. I think what has propelled my success somewhat in the industry without having prior agricultural knowledge and things like that is the fact that I had already been in business. So next year is going to be 10 years for me being fully self-employed. So fortunately, I had a 3-year head start in being in business. So the basics and the fundamentals around accounting, record keeping, and, business registration, being compliant, etc. I had all of that. I knew that. But what lacked here was the production part of it. And I think that's agri. You have to, if you're a fully fledged farmer like ourselves here, is that you have to learn how to be a business person. And then there's a farming element as well. And they're quite independent. You get a lot of farmers who know how to farm, but don't know business. And maybe you could pair yourself up with a partner who understands business. So I studied BCom industrial psychology. even now, 6 years in the industry, I feel like there's no need for me to go study crop production, because I've now been able to leverage off the expertise of the input suppliers or the input providers that come and assist me from my farm. They conduct. And again, another thing, I think for people who are out there or who are watching or listening that think that they need an agricultural degree, agriculture vastly has to do with what you do on a daily basis. So no amount of degrees could make you an experienced farmer. An experienced farmer is really living through the test of times, season after season. If you plant something today and next week you see something, you fix it. You're only as good as each and every day or each and every week or each and every harvest or season. And I don't think you need an agri degree to really be successful. I know a lot of successful farmers who are either accountants, who've been engineers, who've done nothing, but the last thing was agri. So fortunately, agriculture is an industry, or farming is a practice where you have to do the work to become successful. If you're a livestock farmer, you have to do the work, run the farm, understand your herd, speak to certain people who have various expertise, adopt, sit down, make decisions of what's good in your farm. And that's how you can become successful without having a qualification to back that up.
An opportunity to hear you guys speak. So I'll start with I'll start with the first question. Just a second. Because there's a question from Mojaji Siabe. She's asking, Welile, if I ask, what crops are you producing, and or what farming produce? I think we didn't go there. Maybe let's also go there. What are you producing and why?
So Azowel produces tomatoes, peppers, and cucumbers. Tomatoes in KZN are largely exported from other provinces into the province. And so through tunnel farming or greenhouse farming, we are able to produce the tomatoes all year round. During summer, in KZN, we struggle with a lot of rains. And so tomatoes don't like the rainy season. So it's very hard to grow tomatoes in summer in KZN. And that was the opportunity that came. So when I first started my farming back in 2018, I started with tomatoes, and then I went on to peppers, and then I went on to cucumbers. All those crops, tomatoes are winter crops. So you, in a place, in fact, in KZN, it's usually grown in winter because it doesn't do well in summer. But through our hydroponics greenhouse farming, we are able to produce the crops all year round.
And Mbali, there at Green Terrace?
So we are a pepper farm. We produce sweet peppers, and that is red, green, and yellow peppers.
Good. And then is there a reason why you're sticking to one thing? Because I hear, well, you are multi-pronged, different items. And this one, is there a benefit or risk of choosing one over many? What's been your experience there?
Yeah, I think the first point that I'm going to make is that for anybody listening that wants to start farming from a commercial perspective, commercial does not have anything to do with size. But when I say commercial, is to trade, right? To grow a crop and sell, deal with customers. And instead of subsistence, I think it's important to understand where do you want to go in your farm as a business. So for me, when I started back in 2016, I had 4 crops: spinach, peppers, baby marrows, and green beans. And I then decided, and remember when I started, I was renting land. But then I knew that at some point I'm going to have to buy my own farm so that I can produce what I want, so that I can have certain infrastructure to meet certain clients' expectations that I wanted to service, things like pack house and things like that. So I couldn't build those things on someone else's farm. So I only had to do that on my farm. So the whole reason why I decided to niche down on a specific crop is because I wanted to be known for one thing, and that was my business strategy. I wanted to be known for one thing. And furthermore, I ended up farming from 2 hectares to 8 hectares. At any given point in time, I had about 30, 35 people on the farm. It got overwhelming. And I knew that I was making money, but as fast as I was making money back then, I was losing a lot of money. And when I looked into my financial records and management accounts, I found that actually the problem is I'm losing a lot of money with labor, because there's just too many people, too many elements, and I was managing this farm alone. So it was a business strategy for me to say, I want to niche down into a smaller farm, make it controlled. I don't want to farm in open field because it's just too much of a risk. I've lived that life and I've walked it and I've experienced it financially. It hurt me, and frost and things like that. And unlike Welile, I'm Johannesburg based. KZN has a much easier climatic conditions. So she can farm for the whole year. So for me, it was what crop will give me the highest rand value in a smaller scale, but intensified, but that will make me more money than I ever did in that 8 hectare farm, And for me, when I looked at the pool of 4 crops that I had, I decided on the peppers because now strategically, when I positioned it, I'm like, all the big pepper farmers are outskirts of Joburg, because it's warmer. They're all farm and they have to bring peppers in Johannesburg so that it could go to various regions. And this is how it is if you're supplying to retail. And I thought, well, I'm in a fantastic position and maybe I'm giving away my secret sauce, but it's just to get people into thinking that you don't just plant a seed, you must also look around you, So then I thought, if I farm peppers, spinach, everybody does spinach. Green beans were my favorite crop, but I thought, it can't last me that long, high value. And then there was baby marrows. They're a bit finicky, but they gave me good money. And then I thought peppers, because I wanted to farm undercover so that I can mitigate against rain, hail, and frost. And so undercover on the 4 crops that I did was obviously then peppers, because you don't farm berry marrows undercover. They don't do very well. Green beans, yes, you can, but they won't give you the highest rand per square meter. So my decision to farm peppers was based on those elements, where I looked at my business model and I thought, I'm spending too much on labor. There's too many crops. There's too many moving parts in business. How do I scale down, niche down, and be known for something so that no matter when it comes rain or shine, I still have a product available. But furthermore, I think if you perfect your craft in a specific crop, you'll be known for that. And that's when you can start dictating the markets in terms of the price, etc., especially if you produce in quality. So those are just some of the elements that made me niche or scale down to one crop. And I think it's proved very successful for me now that I've gone past this first season right here on this new farm.
Thank you for that, Mbali. And Welile, to you, the burning question that I see on the questions everywhere, it's, people are saying, Obakeng Moribe, he says, I'm really interested in farming. I have a piece of land in Northwest as well as in Venda, but now I'm struggling to get the finance. If any of you were to advise me, where should I go for funding?
All right. Obakeng, I would definitely recommend whatever, if you've got 2,000 rands on your pockets, go and buy seeds. I started farming, and shocking as it is, or unbelievable as it is, I started farming by utilizing a 350 child support grant that I was earning when I had my baby, because I couldn't find work, and because I was so frustrated at the amount that I was receiving as income, I then said, how can I multiply this money? And then as soon as I had something on the ground that was planted, I then started going on social media, taking videos, using social media positively. And I started entering business competitions, showcasing my work. I attended a lot of webinars, seminars, just to now try and polish my business etiquette, as well as my business presentations, so that I could be able to attract farming. When people see you work, they want to assist. When you say you want to work, people are not sure whether you want to take their money for something else or for self-enrichment. So I would say, because you've got land, even if you've got like 1,000 hectares, start with that 1 hectare. Someone will come and see what you're doing, and they may help you get investors or refer you to a government department that is able to assist you start or continue or expand your farming. Thank you.
Mbali, maybe tie your experience on the farming side with this question we also have from Nonhlanhla Krai, who's saying, how does one start farming without knowing your customers or your buyers of your product? In other words, she's asking about the market side now, but I'm keen to understand your funding journey as well. I think everyone else is keen to know, like, where does the funding come from? I think most people scratch their heads around that. What's your experience been? And then also, while you're asking that, chipping on the market side, like what have you done around markets?
So the funding one, I know it's the most commonly asked question. I said my story is that I financed my business. I started with 50,000 Rand. That is the amount that I could raise up at that time that I wanted to farm. So to keep a very open-winded answer straightforward, some people can get funding, maybe they're connected to, I don't know, an enterprise supply development manager at one of the banks or at one of a corporate, and they were offered an opportunity of giving them 500,000. There are people like that, who just have that luck and maybe those connections, and that they can get that financing. Then that I take this money, out of it. You can get financing from what Welile said, entering competitions, but there's no point in entering those competitions or contacting people that you need financing or funding to start farming when you yourself have not started. So the long story short, you have to finance your farm by yourself. So going back to Welile, if you've got 1,000 Rand or 350 Rand, we can buy a packet of seed. Even if you're farming in a 10 by 30 square meters, that little patch will tell you how you're going to grow. You'll learn so much in that little patch that you started with just 5,000, etc. And going away from crops, there are farmers who started just buying chickens, day-old chicks at like 24 Rand or however much the price is. That just started maybe with 3,000 or 1,000 Rand. They started with 5 chicks, they moved to 10, they moved to 50. You have to start your own business or your own journey with your own money. Because what I have learned as well is that when you've started a business with your own capital, you are at an advantage that by the time financiers want to finance your business, or maybe you win a competition and you get a little bit of money or grant funding, or your extension officer put you in for, I don't know, these things that government have, recapitalize, I don't know what. If you're getting an extra 50,000, you can use that money to go to somewhere that's very important. Otherwise, if you have not experienced your own farming journey by yourself and invested in yourself, trust me, the minute you get funding, you're going to spend it on things that are not important, that you don't need actually to propel you to the next season. And be stingy with your business so that by the time you sell, now which goes to the market aspect, reinvest that money back into the business. You must just do your budgets. And if you got 5,000 Rand from the sale, you know that, okay, now I can buy that spray. Now I can do this. Let me keep this a little bit, It just has to come with discipline. If you want to buy extra day-old chicks, do that. If you want to buy a heater for your chicks, whatever the case is, reinvest that business, because that's how I primarily open cards. That's how I grew Green Terrace 2016, 17, 18, and 19. It only got to a stage where I decided to buy this brand new farm in 2019. The financing I used was borrowing money from my friends, because as well, we were hit by COVID. So there were major setbacks. So there's a point in time where I had to now call friends, that are not even in farming, but it's just to borrow money. But because they knew my journey and what I was doing, they were able to be like, okay, we could trust. How do you find markets without knowing your customer, etc.? that's the first thing. I think go around, wherever your farm is, approach the most nearby places where you know that they buy and sell fresh produce. You will get a wealth of information from there. They'll either say, oh, we get from the market, oh, we got already a Welile who's our supplier, a Mbali who's our supplier, no, we're happy, or, oh, no, I don't want to do business with you. You'll get to understand what that market wants. And then to say, oh, okay, thank you, you're coming to me with spinach. But in actual fact, I really have a huge demand of butternut. Then you're like, oh, really? Butternut, which season, what time, what months, roughly how much do you buy it from? Okay, cool. People will show you what they want. There's a huge need from buyers to want to procure. Let's go back to Abom Cause, the people selling in the taxi rank, etc. I used to make 30,000 Rand a month cash from, Mama Batings, my taxi rank. They too are the most critical clients you can have. If you don't want to sell to the grocery stores or your local franchise-owned Spar or franchise-owned Pick and Pay, those are the other customers, those that travel in bakkies. They will tell you, I go very far for my tomatoes, for example, but because you're here, if you can grow me tomatoes, I get it at this much or whatever, or grow me green mealies, or grow me chickens, or grow me eggs. Those are the type of people that can assist you, and you can learn and grow and develop from there. So that exercise is just called market study. You're studying your market, you're trying to analyze, and then you go back to your farm and say, based on what I've got 2 hectares, I've got 1 hectare, I've got 1 mkuku. What can I do with it? And then that's how you use what you have to then start farming, to then go back to the people that you have approached and say, hey, man, I've got chickens, I've got crop, I've got spinach. You might not get it right in the first time, but eventually that case will build and you'd see it tying back into your business. And then you would know that, okay, this is what my market wants. This is what my farm can accommodate. Now I'm in business, and this is how now I've secured market.
Welile, your view there.
Sorry, just to come in there on the market issue. First of all, wherever you are, there's a fresh produce market. That fresh produce market has agents. Just like Mbali said, just go there. There's no hassles there. There's no global gap standards that you need to follow. You just go there with your fresh produce, and they'll register you on a database because they know that people are not consistent. So, but they're very giving of that opportunity. But it is your duty as a farmer to now create a relationship with the market agents. I've been lucky enough to actually have access to the director of the market, one of the market agents, which is our RSA group in Durban. And I then said, Dita, I need to know how to position myself so that I sell the right crop at the right time. And then he gave me the stats. So I've now got access to the turnover that is generated at the market for 2021, which is approximately like 1.8 billion rands. Of that 1.8 billion, KZN producers, which form about 20% of that now, they are turning around 378 million rands. But there's only like 20% of the people that are producing in KZN, and the balance of the produce is being procured in other provinces. And so with that information, I am now able to determine my market share as well as a farmer. So it's very, very crucial that you go to such places. And these people want your produce because they are agents, and they also need to earn commission. So that can be your start. And then you can then pave your way, whether to retailers. And like Mbali said, the hawkers, Abom Kosi, they'll come to your farm and they'll ask for your third grade produce, they'll be able to sell it at the taxi ranks and all of that. And yes, so that could be your one way of accessing the market.
So if I'm summarizing,
Yes.
Plan something, sell it close by to people around, and then go to the markets, your local market, Johannesburg markets, Durban markets, for larger quantities via an agent. And then only then can you then look at supplying Pick n Pay and ShopRite. Is that the correct thinking that people can say they must adopt in terms of not having too many expectations, too high expectations, and then avoiding disappointment? Will that be?
I couldn't have said it any better. That is exactly it. You have so much opportunity to mess up at the market that because there's so many suppliers coming in and out, it's actually a safer platform for you to learn, other than targeting the likes of the big distribution centers and not being able to meet their requirements, and then potentially being blacklisted from supplying them in future. So I think one of the reasons why one is still able to knock on those doors when we have now polished our business skills is that, we started where we were allowed to make those mistakes.
Yeah. That's now the person can ask at the market there, is there compared to Pick n Pay and all the other shops, isn't the retailers where you make the most money, where you make your billion?
Tell you what,
yeah.
the market works on supply and demand, and so does the retailers, like the distribution centers. So with the retailers, it might be on a contract basis, but they also work on, they've changed their model to just like how the market operates, basically. So if there's a supply, if there's a demand of tomatoes, you get a better price. If there's a demand for cucumbers, you get a better price. But if there's no demand as well, like there's a farmer that's been supplying Fresh Mark that I know of, and he gets his prices a week before. So the prices are determined a week before. The volatility at the market is that today your tomatoes are sitting at 20 rands, and then ZZ2 harvests a whole lot, and then you come back the next day, it's 5 rands. So I think you can then base this on maybe the volatility, but you are definitely not guaranteed that you'll be getting the best prices at the retailers. And there's also the issue of rejection, So that's where I think most farmers get frustrated with supplying chain stores.
Yeah, and on that one, there's another guy who's asking. I'm pushing this one to Mbali now. There's a Dolamo Lobelo. It says Mbali and Welile. Did you have to be GAP accredited to supply retailers and fresh produce markets? And maybe run with that one, Mbali, if you can.
Yeah. So I'm also seeing a message here from Ben Boysen. I think, which is quite important about, it's just caught my attention, whether my business has been listed on Google or is permanently closed. No, my business is still running. I just closed the listing on Google. I removed the location because I don't want to be found, because what you get is that too many people come land on your farm and then they say they want to see Mbali, and it's a running farm. So I intentionally deleted my location of my farm because at any given day, you find people just landing, don't have an appointment, and they just want to speak to me. And unfortunately, maybe I'm not there or I'm busy, because my farm is a business at the end of the day. So I hope that answers your question, Ben. But we're open, and you can reach us on our website or email. Yes, if you're going to supply retail, you have to be Global GAP accredited. and many other things. Each retailer is different, but the standards apply. There are some retailers maybe that will let you get away with some things. I know I supplied Food Lovers Market without GAP accreditation. I didn't even have the most fanciest. I supplied Food Lovers back in 2016, 17 without global GAP, without a cold chain truck, without a pack house. It depends, But Food Lovers is, I think, out of all the retailers, the most less stringent. I haven't been in touch with them for some time. But I know that they're the most less stringent. Your Pick and Pays, your Fresh Mark, which is your ShopRite, etc., your Woolies, they're going to want some sort of food safety standards. It's not only global GAP, it's HACCP, which is for your pack house. It's a food safety audit. You must do an audit. There's a lot of things that go into that checklist. Maybe if there's 10 of them and you only have 6, because you're a Black supplier and they understand that they also need to transform, there are those ways in which they're willing to give you certain leniency to get you to reach the 10 out of 10 checklist, and they'll walk with it. And I think they'll walk you through it. And I think it's them part of a CSI initiative, but not everybody does that. But I think it will depend if your crop is really good and they really want it. Then if you don't meet the 10 out of 10 checklist and maybe you got 6 things, they will help you develop to get the additional 4, provided that you're supplying. But with retail, unfortunately, there's a lot of compliance required because they too are measured in food safety standards. If a customer buys something at their retailer and has a complaint, that goes back to you, the farmer. So that's why they always have to keep their things in check and balance. I mean, that's their corporate policies in which they run with.
Oh, that's great. Now, it's Women's Month. Now, are there any advantages of being a female farmer in South Africa?
Can I speak by myself? Listen, so you can say yes or no.
Yeah.
Sometimes you'll get away with things because you're a female farmer. Maybe, being part of a specific program because they can see you doing well and you're actually farming and you're female and maybe you're young, whatever the case might be. There's certain things that you'll get away with or get access to certain opportunities because also companies are starved. They'll tell you we can't find female farmers, but the minute they see a Welile and Mbali, they'll immediately grab you maybe to be part of a program that they're running or take you on a trip somewhere or expose you to something or give you a discount on something. But the long story short, no, it's much more tougher because you have to prove yourself, right? You really, and this is my journey. I've had to prove myself. Even, I mean, you introduced me as, she knows she needs no introduction, etc., etc. When it comes to farming, they don't care whether you're female or whatever. They'll be like, more so, even if you're female, I think there's going to be that thing of, we still want to see if she has a farm. The Mbali that people would know now that will see, she's been farming. There are people out there who believe I don't farm, who believe I'm just a front, who believe I'm just on social media. And I think that is the perception and thinking because I'm female. There's no ways that she could be female, 34 years of age, owning a farm, running a farm, supplying into retail without connections. There's no ways. There are people who think that because we don't come every day. You don't get a Welile and Mbali who worked blood, sweat, and tears on a daily basis. So because of that, there will be automatic resistance from people because they just don't think, but at the end of the day, you have to work. Whether you want to supply retail, you have to meet the standards because there are other farmers. Buyers will tell you there are other farmers who are competing at that level. So what makes you so special for you to get this contract? Clients, I don't know, just in anything, you just have to work at the end of the day, whether you're male or female. But you won't get funding as well because you're female. I know for some people maybe reading, there's so many funding opportunities, but also you have to work for them. I think Welile is more experienced than me. I don't have relationships with government. or different agri departments. I was pretty much a self-starter, but it's not so easy to penetrate that spaces because you just think you're female. Welile, I think, could share her experience there.
I think there's a term that they use that now Black women are Black gold. You'll find that a lot of people will want to partner with you in terms of giving access to markets. But then once you start that partnership, you'll find that it's eating on you. And the reason why it's eating on you is the fact that you are female, and people just feel like, they can take advantage. But when it comes to, I would say maybe the corporates, most of the enterprise development programs are focusing or are targeting Black women that are youth. But you've got to work for it. People will take advantage of you, even when it comes to the part of community development. Because as we're building these businesses, they are giving somebody a salary that is now able to get them out of a position that they were once in. And so when you're a female farmer, first of all, people in the community don't believe that you have the potential to lead people. And so people will now try and say, okay, they'll come in as your helpers. And this is from a personal experience where I'll help you, or as a man, I'll come in as a person that is able to help you control your staff, only to find that because they know that as a woman, or they are in cognizance of the fact that you are able to knock on doors and people or corporates and government will open, they then hope that they'll be able to take the very same bread that you are working on and use it and for themselves actually. But it's one of those challenges. I think it's a learning experience, and you have to work. Business does not have naturally does not have gender. It's all about proving yourself to be in the business and in the running of the business and being resilient through it all.
Oh. Guys, thank you so much for those pearls of wisdom and really taking your time and answering the questions. We may not have got into all the questions on the chat, guys, but we tried our best to take the most of those questions. You're more than welcome. If you got more questions, just send them onto the chat, and we'll at Azowel we'll curate those and see how we could be able to assist you in getting an answer. But please allow me to thank these two wonderful women who are doing marvelous things. And Welile, Mbali, thank you for coming through and sharing your journey with us. And if you're not already following, Mbali is there on social media at Green Terrace ZN, and Welile at Wells WELZ Gumede _Gumede at Wells _Gumede. That's on Instagram. Please make sure you follow those guys. And any parting words, guys. To the listeners who took their time to come today. There's one thing you want them to remember from Bali. In 1 minute, what would that be? And then the same for Welile, and then I'm gonna wrap.
Yeah. Firstly, thank you to everybody with the questions and the beautiful comments. Thank you. It's harder. It's farming is much harder than it looks. Firstly, but that shouldn't deter you from really achieving your goals and dreams. But I'd definitely say if you want to start farming, start it because this is something that you want to do, that you can't live without, or something. Because passion can only get you so far, right? You'll get certain challenges and that you will want to give up multiple times because it is that difficult. So I think know why you want to farm, not because there's just land sitting and you just want to try this thing out. You lose a lot of money very fast. So it must be something that you really, really want to do. And if that's the case, you will succeed. But I think we need as many farmers as we can have. So, I think if all hell fails, there's businesses like Livestock Wealth that will help, grow your money in better ways with less risk. Knowing that you are supporting another farmer as well.
Absolutely. And from your side there, Welile?
Yeah, parting words for me, it would be if you want to be at any business, but especially farming, if you've got access to land and you're saying you want to start farming, or you don't have access to land, but you want to start farming, just go there and just start. And then learn on the way. Don't dive in too deep. By that, I mean, start small and then grow gradually. Help companies like Livestock Wealth. They are there, to help farmers achieve what they want to achieve. But your mental health in business at large is very, very important. And if you can withstand challenges, then because farming is a business. At the end of the day, you need to generate an income. It's not about having green fingers, so they would say. It's not about having having green fingers. The green fingers, yes, they are there. They are part of production. But there's a marketing aspect of farming that you need to prepare yourself for. There's a financial aspect of farming that you need to prepare yourself for. And if you are mentally fit, then you will be able to successfully run your farm or your farming business. Yes, so those are my parting words.
Thank you very much. Thank you, ladies. And if you're out there, you want to be a partner farmer, you got tunnels, you want to grow them, you want to be Welile 2.0 or Mbali 3.0. We are Livestock Wealth is here. Go to our website, livestockwell.com. There's a farmers section where you can actually complete an application form to be one of our partner farmers. How does it work? Is that you then enable other investors to invest in your farm through our platform, where then as you take stuff to market, the investors profit through our connected garden products, which you guys have seen on the videos. So we would really want to encourage everyone must be farming. Guys, food is expensive out there. People are going hungry, yet there's ground on the floor. So where you can, as the ladies have said, start with what you have, where you are, and do what you can. That will be our parting words for this webinar. And thank you so much, everyone, for joining. Thank you.
Thank you, Shezi.
Thank you. Happy farming. Happy harvest.
Happy farming. Definitely.
Happy farming, everyone. Yeah.
This is the Connected Garden, where you can make your money grow by owning a fully stocked organic vegetable garden. The garden is leased out to farmers and managed on your behalf. You earn 660 Rand every 3 months over 5 years. This is your portion of revenue derived from the sale of vegetables to local farmers' markets, restaurants, and other off-takers. This equates to a total income of 13,200 Rand over 5 years. The garden uses less water than conventional planting and creates real jobs in the agricultural value chain. It is designed to accommodate smart sensors to monitor soil moisture and temperature, allowing you to watch your investment grow while helping the farmer to farm better. Invest today. Download the Livestock Wealth My Farm Book app, available on Apple or Android.